This video will show you how to replace the outer tie rod end on a Cadillac CTS. This is part of the front steering and suspension, located behind the front wheel. Let's get into it. Let's get ready to remove our front wheel. To do that, the first thing we have to do is safely raise and support the front of the vehicle so the wheel's off the ground. Once you've done that, you're going to remove all 5 of your 19mm lug nuts so we can get the wheel off of here. Now that we have the wheel out of place, let's focus on our tie rod ends. Looking in between the inner and the outer, you can see that we have a 22mm jam nut. You can also use some long pliers for this. Now when we go to loosen this, you're going to be turning it clockwise. There we are. Now that I have it broken free from the outer tie rod end, let's make our way towards the outer portion of the outer tie rod end where it connects to our steering knuckle. We'll be using a 19mm for our mounting nut. After a quick inspection, let's just start that back on a couple threads. Now we need to separate the outer tie rod end from the knuckle. If you have a tie rod end puller, you can use that. If you have a hammer, you could tap on the steering knuckle, and this should want to break free. I'm going to use some penetrant and tap on this with a hammer. Now we can turn this outer tie rod end counterclockwise. As we start unscrewing it from the inner tie rod end, count the amount of turns it takes to remove it. 1, 2, and so on. There it is, friend. A quick inspection will set this aside. Now, prior to installing the outer tie rod end, let's make sure we clean and inspect the threaded portion of the inner tie rod end. Just use some parts cleaner, wire brush as necessary. Let's apply some anti-seize along this portion of the inner tie rod end. Now, prior to installing our brand new outer tie rod end, we want to make sure that we do remove our protective cover. Just go ahead and remove that mounting nut, remove the cover, and dispose of that properly. Let's get ready to install our brand new outer tie rod end. So now as we start installing the outer tie rod end, we want to make sure we bring it in the same amount of turns as it took to remove it in the first place. My application was 16 turns. Your application may vary. That was 1, 2, and so on. When we stop, let's stop with this facing straight up and down. Now let's get the outer tie rod in place. Let's bring that over towards the knuckle. We have our mounting nut on top there. Once you have that started on, go ahead and snug it up and then torque that to 52 foot-pounds. Got my torque wrench. Make our way back to the jam nut. As far as that jam nut, let's make sure we turn it all the way up against that outer tie rod end. We're turning it counterclockwise. We'll make sure we bottom it out. Make sure it's nice and snug. There we are. One last quick inspection in this area, and we can prepare to reinstall our front wheel. With that in place, we'll continue on to all 5 of our 19mm lug nuts. We'll start them on, get the wheel back on the ground, torque each of them to 100 foot-pounds in a crisscross manner. I've got the wheel back on the ground. Let's go ahead and torque these lug nuts to that 100 foot-pounds. torqued. Okay friend, we finished our installation. The next thing we have to do is take the vehicle for a road test down to our local alignment shop. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.